Hello folks, it is Friday. Welcome to Friday, and welcome to some more Hobby Nightmares. You'll be glad to know there's actual hobby in these ones, I can promise you that. And also, these ones are not as negative as some of the other ones that we've had recently. That's right, it's time for a Friday hug from your pal Northern Exile as we go into some more positive Hobby Nightmares. Some of them will be a bit cringe, some of them will be a bit mad, but that's what we're here for, is to enjoy that bit of the hobby together before we head off into the weekend. So, if you want to send in any Hobby Nightmares, make sure that you do so at hobbynightmares@gmail.com, and I'll try and read them out as quickly as possible. Our first one today, Max, who says, "Hi North, I found your channel a few weeks ago, and I'm enjoying the content and listening whilst at work." Cool, man, thank you. "I thought this story would be right up your alley, and hopefully encourage anybody thinking about jumping back into the hobby, alright? A little bit of background. I will get to the hobby, but a bit of background never hurts. I played when I was a kid, the usual Sundays at Games Workshop, showing off my armies and throwing some dice, as I had no clue what I was doing, but having a blast blowing up other people's armies and generally showing off my own. All good things come to an end, as I hit puberty and discovered girls, booze and rugby. A tale as old as time for anyone in the UK, as we all know, girls are better than little plastic soldiers." Okay, I kind of agree with you. I kind of agree. At that age, right? At that age, when you're a teenager, I see this all the time. I've experienced this in all different levels as well, so I was there myself when I was in school. I've taught in secondary schools, right? I went to university where I saw a lot of these kids who came from secondary school not being good with girls that carried on into the university life and made them miserable, right? Best thing to do when you're younger is to start talking to the opposite sex. Start getting a feel for how they think and how they go about things. Start practicing, because your mind is like a dulled sword. It needs a whetstone to sharpen up, and that whetstone is exposure to other people. Get more friends, right? Get more friends from different backgrounds, get more friends of the opposite sex. And if you can, if you've got a crush, go up to her, ask her out, see where it goes. That's my advice to all young lads. And if you need to drop Warhammer for a while, to be with the popular crowd for a bit, to get some more friends, do it, right? I'm not one of these people who says, "No, do your hobbies, do whatever you want to do." No, it doesn't help. It doesn't help, right? All people like that are encouraging you to do is wallow in your toy soldiers. That's not healthy. That's not what we're here to do. Enjoy Warhammer, enjoy your hobby, right? But make sure that when you're a young lad, you're getting out there and you're getting experience. You're making sure that you're getting more experience from other people all the time. All right? If you're just sitting there doing plastic soldiers all the time, that's not healthy. When you're a growing lad, you know, you've got to have lots of different hobbies, lots of different interests, and you need to get out there and do more things, okay? Because the amount of you that go to university that I've seen who are miserable from then on in, who literally, you know, have got no skills with other people or women, who tend to have behavioural problems and things like that, it all started at that age, at secondary school level. So make sure you're getting out there, you're putting yourself out there, and enjoy your models too, you know? Enjoy your models too, no problem, you know? Anyway, the hobby took a back seat as I navigated college and university, and the stigma of the ultra-nerdy Warhammer player was always in my mind, and that the local community was a bit too neckbeardy, and a few of the, well, actually types put me off from the hobby at college and university. But the love of the setting always stayed there, as I kept tabs on the lore and kept active online with discussions, but never in real life. Mate, you are literally me. This was me for years. Girls did not like me going off. Girls did not like me going off on about the Emperor and the Imperium, while fairly battered in the nightclubs after a sports Wednesday at university. That's brilliant. It's just you like sitting there screaming at a girl over the music. "Yeah, he had 20 sons, and they're made of his own bloodline, and each of them had a legion, and what? Yeah, no, we can have sex later, no problem. Yeah, no, anyway, another thing about the Emperor is, you know, that's just amazing. I love it. Absolutely brilliant. The main story is that now I've graduated and have some disposable income while saving up for my own home, a hobby store has opened up near myself a year or two ago, and I popped in just to see the vibe of the place, as I have had bad experiences with the ultra neckbeard types in the past, which has put me off the scene, and I wanted to check it out and see if it was still the same bad vibes that I'd had in the past. Okay, right, alright. One thing I will say is that a lot of guys from earlier on in this story will be like, what do you mean I have to stop my hobby when I'm at school? No, you shouldn't. Guys, just because if that was you at high school or university, stop crying, stop getting butthurt, right? Admit that, you know, you maybe being so involved in Warhammer when you were younger was not the best thing for you, right? It's the path of least resistance is what you did, right? You gave up on socializing, and that's not healthy. No matter which way you spin it, it ain't healthy, alright? You can have your Warhammer, I did, but I still had friends, I still had girlfriends, right? I just kept my Warhammer bit to myself. I went off with my Warhammer friends on a Thursday night, went to Games Workshop, had fun, but the rest of the time, you know, I played football, I had girlfriends, I had friends, you know, you can do both, alright? Anyway, this store was fantastic as I popped my head in, and the owner was super friendly as we had a chat, and I said I was dipping my toes back into the hobby and that I enjoy painting. Okay, good. The store owner really helped me out, saying that if you're saving money and want an elite force to play with, pick up the Adeptus Custodes. I grabbed a combat patrol and went on my merry way, painting them up and relearning my hobby skills. I've attached a couple of pictures, and I'm pretty proud of my lads. I joined the store's Discord and had a great time talking about painting and everyone there showing off miniature paint jobs. Let me see if I can find any of those pictures, because I think there was one email here that had no pictures attached to it, even though they said that there was going to be pictures, and I was very disappointed. Which one was it? Was it this one? Yes, it was it. Oh no, you actually did send me some stuff. Oh, nice! Oh, Alaris Terminators, I like these. Cool. Cool, excellent. Let's chuck some of these on the old screen, shall we? I do like Custodes. So Custodes, to me, are essentially the best starter army. I don't care what anyone says. If people say it's Space Marines, I don't agree. Custodes, for me, are the shit when it comes to being in a starter army. I know you've got Sisters here too, but I do love these Terminators, I will say. I think you've done very, very, very well. Let's have a look at these Terminators, shall we? So, yeah, people will say Space Marines are the best starter army. Again, not sure I agree. Come on, dude. You're not a beginner. I say this all the time. Here we go, making me feel inadequate again. Look at this. Dude, you're not a beginner. Fuck off with this. Oh my god, these are great. Go do with better bases to really make them pop. But mate, if you're a beginner, this is disgusting. What is going on with that? That's incredible. Well done to you. I say through gritted teeth, but you know what I mean. Well done to you. But my god, man, Jesus. These are your sisters, and again, your sisters look great. Get better bases. An orange base here, I'm telling you now, a Martian orange base would really make these colours pop. I'm telling you now. But they look amazing as they are. Absolutely. Hot diggity dog. Hot diggity dog. Love those models. Anyway, moving on. The main story is that now I've graduated and have some disposable... Oh, I've just done that bit, haven't I? I had painted up my Custodes and asked if anybody was willing to teach a new player how to play the game on the Discord Find a Match channel. Is that on my Discord? That's lovely. I didn't expect I would have as many people wanting to show me the ropes. I met this bloke, Dave, who was the winner of the store's multiple competitive leagues, who agreed to teach me the real basics. He brought along 3 armies, Sisters of Battle, Tau, and Adeptus Mechanicus, that teach me the basics with a few 500-point games and a variety of armies to play against. I only just lost my first match against his Tau, as he shot me off the board and explained how important it was to keep in cover as custodies while advancing through the battlefield. The second game, I played against his sisters and took what he said to me about how to play, and I tabled him and won my match. Just discussing what had happened, he said I'd learned from my mistake and prioritised my targets well. The third match, I lost due to some terrible dice rolls by myself, causing way too many casualties, but oh well. That's what we get for playing a game based on chance, I guess. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and we both exchanged numbers and carried on with our days. That dude's brilliant. That's such a really good way to teach somebody Warhammer, man. A few hours, a few 500-point games, excellent. The store owner encouraged me to join the store's 1,000-point beginners league, and I had my first game the other day after getting to 1,000 points. It was a great experience, as they set it up with pared down rules, and they have been honest and open on making it more complicated with the rules as we progress. It was a fantastic time, and the community has been incredible, and not how I remembered as I grew up. Everyone was relatively normal in the hobby sphere, with no neckbeardy types. That's because you're at a beginner game, man. Beginner game. My match went really well, and I won after a close game against another beginner playing Death Guard. My custodies slowly advanced up the board, taking artillery fire and dodging the firepower from his pesky vehicles. Any close combat I reached resulted in pretty much my custodies blending any unit that came into close combat with them and just securing objectives as per the mission rules. Plenty of epic moments on both sides, such as my Vindicare assassin sniping his HQ, I can't remember the name, and Typhus in successive turns, and my opponent killing off my last jet bike with his tank's close combat attacks, of all things. It's just his tank ramming your jet bikes on the way past. That's really funny. All of us, 9 people, exchange numbers and have a WhatsApp group where we all chat and shoot the shit, and I'm hoping to keep playing with this fantastic group of folks. This is really a message that if you want to join up again, then please don't worry and pop your head into a local store to see how the local community is, as you can always get to a different group or store if you don't enjoy the atmosphere. I understand not everybody has the opportunity, and that I've been really lucky in most ways. I hope you have a good day, and thanks for reading my story, Max. Well, the thing is, and you were talking this way before about the nerddom. I think it's really, really, really important that you mentioned that, right? You mentioned that, you know, the neckbeardy way of Warhammer sort of put you off for a while, and I think a lot of normies, like myself, I'm a bit of a normie, you know, that's me. Like, I'm very normal, compared to most people who are in the hobby. I would say I'm kind of, you know, boringly normal. Like every single character I create that looks like me on a game that I play, my friends take the piss out of me because it's always generic dude. Do you know what I mean? Generic brown-haired, blue-eyed dude. That's basically what I look like. And, you know, I go into stores and I get it, man. I get it. Like, you go in there and you see a few neckbeards, you see a few guys with their pants around their asses who smell of shit. And you kind of think, wow, do I really need to be here? And when your family sees you in there, or when your girlfriend sees you in there, you're like, oh my god, you know. I will say this, I think Henry Cavill's done more for this hobby than nearly anybody else in the past 20 to 30 years. You know? Aside from that amazing Horus Heresy writer, what was his name? He died a while ago. He was amazing. Aside from him, I think Henry Cavill's done more for this hobby than pretty much anybody going forwards, because he's forced it to be normal, right? That's the name you can use now. Every single woman out there wants to fuck Henry Cavill, right? And every single man out there would trade bodies with him in an instant. Let's be honest, right? You trade looks and bodies with him in an instant. If you can have that name and go, well, Henry Cavill plays it, what the fuck's wrong with you? As soon as any woman gives you any grief, you say, well, Henry Cavill plays it. Right? That's it. Argument done. Blown out the water. Absolutely gone. The argument's finished. She's got nothing else to say. Right? Right? If you're my girlfriend and you don't want me playing this game and you fancy Henry Cavill, would you break up with Henry Cavill because he plays Warhammer? No, you wouldn't. And if you would, I don't want to be with you. So, you know what I mean? So if you wouldn't break up with him, why all of a sudden is it a problem that I'm doing it? Because you're with me. Do you know what I'm saying? it just blows everything out the water. So I get what you're saying about normies being intimidated by coming into Warhammer. It is intimidating. You come in, and some neckbeards, right? Some lads out there who've been in this hobby since the very early days of their childhoods and have been bullied in school, they see normies coming into the hobby and they see them as the enemy, right? They see them as the bullies are now infiltrating their space, their safe space, and so they act with hostility, or they double down on their weird-ass behaviour, like wearing tails and things, right? To try and differentiate themselves from the normies coming into the hobby. I think most of the time, rather than the hobby being a corrupting force, the hobby makes people normal, right? And this is the thing. I don't think, when you see these like neckbeards and other weird blokes who come in and they do odd things, right? They're just odd nerds. I don't think that's the hobby doing that to them. I think that's them. You know? I think that's them. I think that their lives have pushed them into this. I think that they've got certain issues mentally that have pushed them into this. I've got certain... I've got certain... You know, that life's made them that way. The hobby hasn't made them that way. Alright? The hobby, if anything, is returning them to an equilibrium. It's returning them to center. Eventually. Because they're exposed to normal guys out there who are just playing and rolling some dice. But I do understand what you meant, mate. I understand completely what you meant, Max, in that normies tend to get turned off by that kind of behaviour, but don't, right? Don't. You don't need to. You can go in, and if you're getting a neckbeardy kind of behaviour, walk away, go and find another hobby space. There are always normal dads, normal lads out there. Most of them are former neckbeards. Most of them are former Uber nerds who used to creep people out. I know a lot of them, and now the normal dads, the normal guys, going out there, dating, having fun, right? Because they've returned to an equilibrium, and the hobby had a lot to do with them returning to that equilibrium. So don't blame the hobby. The hobby doesn't turn people into weirdos, right? People arrive weirdos, and the hobby tries to make them normal, tries to bring them back into society where they can be productive and happy. Right? That's what the hobby does. It can't do anything else. It's a social hobby. Right? So don't blame the hobby. Blame life. And don't leave these guys in the gutter. Go and pick them up. Go and say, hey man, hey, do you want to go for a beer? Like, you know, make sure these guys feel normal. If you treat somebody like an animal, they're going to act like an animal. Right? Go off and say, listen man, do you want to go for a beer? Do you want to play a game with me? Don't ostracize these people. Build them up. You know, go and build them up. Anyway. Bojan says, whenever I see that word, it always reminds me of Bojan Kirchich, who was a wonder kid footballer back in the day, who never really went anywhere. You know, typical football manager knowledge. And Bojack Horseman. Those are the two things I always think of. Anyway, Bojan says, Dear Northern Exile, first, I'd like to thank you for the amazing content you provide with your Hobby Nightmare series, and for your interspersed advice and commentary on fellow hobbyists' problems. I tune into your content every time, and me and my two adolescent boys get to spend some quality time painting and assembling our armies together. I am truly thankful to have 40k themed life advice pumped straight into the brains of my boys. Right, well, hello, if you are there and you are painting. You should have put their names here so I could freak them out and be like, oh, you know, make sure you're painting properly. Well, if you are painting, you're listening to this, then hello. It's nice to hear from you. I hope you don't let them listen to all of the nightmares, because some of them can be a bit adult in nature. But you know what? I try and make sure that there's no weird shit here, or if there is, then I kind of tone it down for you. Anyways, here's a local story that has become quite legendary in our small but very active hobby community. I come from a small town, and we don't have a Games Workshop store. The closest is in a neighbouring county, and while it's less than 30 minutes drive away, it's a modern, no-games style outlet. Oh, God. But we do have a great local game store that hosts a variety of games, from 40k to Age of Sigmar and Fantasy, Bolt Action, Magic the Gathering, D&D, and a bunch of other games. It's a great place that tries very hard to cultivate a strong community. So the staff give a warm welcome to everybody who wishes to partake in the hobby, even if they don't exactly have much disposable income. That's a quality place to go and do your hobby. I only know because in Liverpool we don't really have any. Most of the places you go to in Liverpool are cold in both reception and temperature. You go in there and they show no interest in you or what you're doing or whatever. They're just there to scratch their arses, eat their Cheetos, and play some Magic the Gathering or Pokemon or whatever. They don't give a shit about anybody else's hobby. It's weird. Liverpool's a fucking weird city. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's not my favourite, right? In fact, the only place in Liverpool I actually like is this house. It's like the only place I like to be. Because, well, my missus is here. So, and my computer's here and all that sort of stuff. All my happy stuff is here. But the city itself, for a nerd, if you don't like football, right? I do. But if you don't like football and you're into nerdy stuff or metal music, don't come to Liverpool, right? It's the worst. It regularly makes the top of the worst cities list for rock music, decent nights out when it comes to that kind of music, and of course, geek stuff, nerd stuff, just terrible, man. Like there's if you're into Warhammer, this is a backwater. There's nothing here, right? There are a few stores around that let you play there with nearly no terrain, right? But there's nowhere that cultivates a community feel like the one you just said. And I've seen them in other cities where they do. They go out of their way to have a chat and have a laugh with you and be interested in your hobby because they know it'll get them repeat sales down the road, right? Liverpool, they don't give a shit. They don't even try. Imagine a city run by the worst preppy assholes at your high school or secondary school. The worst normies, the worst chavs, right? That's what Liverpool is. Constant dance music, constant young people on ecstasy all the time, and the only nerds who are allowed to exist are the weird ones, pretty much. They've got a monopoly on most of the spaces. There's one called Sugar and Dice, which is a really lovely little place, but it's not really a hobby place, it's a cafe, you know what I mean? And that's it, that's all we've got. So, anyway, one such case, carrying on with my story, one such case of somebody who had little disposable income was a young lad. Let's call him David. Maybe 14 or 15 years of age. Spindly, frail frame, long hair, a slight stutter, you know the type. Who started frequenting the shop just before coronavirus, in 2018 and 2019. It was very obvious he had little to no disposable income, but David would make himself very useful, helping staff run games like Blackstone Fortress and Combat Patrol for the younger kids of more affluent backgrounds that would pass the game store on their way home from school in the early afternoon. David would help new hobbyists, especially kids, with assembly and painting, and would just try to make himself as helpful as possible without being pushy. What a nice lad. He also had a great grasp of the rules and the English language, as rules aren't translated into our language, and a good memory, and would observe dad gamers playing in the evenings and help them with the rules. This is a lad you should... I'd be proud to have this lad around. What a top bloke. David was certainly cherished by the staff and patrons. One such patron, who has taken a particular liking to the boy, was a local man. Let's call him Boris. Okay, this is going to go down either a very heartwarming route or a very dark route. Let's see where we go. He was about 10 years my junior, in his early 30s or late 20s, when this story was taking place. Boris was a fearsome-looking man of a huge frame, over basically nearly 2 meters tall, and certainly over 100 kilograms of muscle. He wore a long beard and was always very well dressed. Despite his rather young age, he was already a father of 3 and a successful local businessman. He usually came to the store in the evenings to play 40k games. He was the silent type, which only added to his fearsome look and reputation, but the few of us who got to know him, and to whom he opened up, would realise that he is in fact one of the nicest and greatest people one could meet. I'm gonna be honest with you, mate. most successful people in business are. Don't listen to people who say you need to be an arsehole. You may need to be an arsehole to make billions, to step over people, but to be a success, you don't. Most successful people I know are good people. You know, good men who've gone out and had a good time, and they make sure other people around them have what they need. Those are the success stories that I know of most of the time. The guys who are earning 80 to 100 grand a year, things like that, those are the guys, right, who've made a success with their own companies. They're not earning billions, no, but they're earning a lot and enough to take care of their families and to take care of themselves and their friends. Normally, they're top blokes. I very rarely meet an arsehole in that situation, because you can't be. You can't be an arsehole. You've got to be a people person, right? To get people to want to invest in your product, to get people to want to come along with you. You've got to be a people person. Anyway, so these two struck up an unlikely friendship through David helping Boris's two primary school age children with all aspects of the hobby, and Boris in turn inviting David to play 40k, lending him his immaculately painted Tyranids or Guardsmen to play against his other armies, or later, when he trusted David with the models, other dads. David was head over heels with this arrangement, and he dreamed one day of collecting and painting a Blood Angels army. So for Christmas of 2019, Boris's family bought David a starter set, and other dads threw in something from their Astartes piles of shame, be it a box or a sprue going spare, and even the shop pitched in with some paints and assorted hobby supplies. He was in utter disbelief as he was presented his gift. He cried tears of joy and couldn't stop thanking the assembled dads and staff. This led to some of the best hobby evenings ever, with games of 40k, hot chocolate and cookies galore, and David assembling his new Blood Angels force in the hobby corner. This, however, is where the story truly starts. Okay, I thought that was the story. Alright, let's jump in. In the first months of 2020, just before the big coof, just before the pandemic, David assembled his force and started testing it out in games, slowly painting as he went. Everything seemed peachy, until one fateful evening in February, right before the restrictions hit. Boris and I were just finishing up a cutthroat game of Necromunda with a friendly chat, when I noticed that Boris is intently observing something behind me, just over my shoulder, so I turned around mid-sentence. I noticed David, who had just arrived, surrounded by what seemed like a group of friends, just in front of the store, talking. I soon noticed a look of fear and concern on David's face, as it became apparent that these guys were no friends of his at all. As this realization hit me, and as I turned around to Boris to share my concerns, I found him already halfway across the room, with smouldering rage in his eyes. Heading with a fast and determined pace towards the entrance, looking like a lion on the prowl, intent on massacring a pack of hungry hyenas. Boris burst out of the store door, towering over the kids, who at first just froze like deer caught in the headlights, and a short moment later, before Boris could even say a word, started running away with all the speed they could muster. Everybody in the store just stopped what they were doing and watched this play out in stunned silence, as Boris and David gave chase, but it was dark and we soon lost sight of them. I waited for some time, then started packing up, and sent Boris an SMS, a message, asking if everything was okay, and whether I should pack up his models as well, as the store was closing soon anyways. Are you from South Africa, by the way? Because South Africans are the only ones who use the word SMS to me when referring to a text message. Anyway, he hadn't replied until quite a while later, when I was already home, just thanking me and writing that he took care of the problem, quote unquote. Has Boris murdered some people? Let's see. Now, this just happened to be the final week before the restrictions hit, and the store closed down for a long while afterwards, and our group moved to playing games in garages at this dad's place or another's. But the two people who were mistakenly absent for the next 3 years were David and Boris. Okay, now this combined with Boris's now legendary message of taking care of the problem, of course, spawned a whole plethora of local memes and jokes about Boris and David, from them serving life sentences to them stalking the streets at night, looking for more victims, almost like superheroes. This wasn't helped by Boris's preferred communication method, as he'd always just write the shortest possible answer to any of my messages or game invites, giving clear indication that he won't be joining us until the pandemic blows over. Alright? That's so hilarious that you all think they're Batman and Robin now. That's hilarious. They just run off into the night, and nobody ever heard from them for the next 3 years. That's brilliant. Lovely cup of tea. Anyway, this story, however, just recently got an epilogue. Last year, as the local gaming store opened up again after the restrictions were over for good, many familiar faces flooded back to the store. But amongst the majority of old friends and known gamers were a couple of fresh faces. One amongst them a dashing young lad, lean but well built, with an immaculately painted collection of Blood Angels. I must admit, I'd have never have recognised David were it not for a converted chaplain that another dad gifted to David that Christmas. He was completely changed, full of confidence, obviously an avid gym goer. Even his slight stutter was now a charming asset and not a hindrance. I was very happy to see him again, especially in such phenomenal shape, and I told him about the jokes we had all made regularly about the night he and Boris disappeared, quote unquote. He told me that the reason Boris ran after them was that one kid held in his hand David's carry case. Oh! And in shock, just ran holding it, and ditched it only after some time. These kids bullied David in school, but just recently found out he frequented this gaming store. So despite Boris chasing away the bullies, David at the time felt a strong sense of despair as his last safe space was taken away from him. Oh no. That's usually the point where people who are getting bullied have had enough. When they're cornered in the space that they thought was their own, that only, you've got 99% of the school where you bully me. This is my one area where that is mine. When a kid's cornered there, that's when they snap. To me, that's when they snap. When they're cornered there, they snap. And good for them as well. I've been involved in I think it's like 3 cases now where a kid's not gone AWOL of their senses and beat the living shit out of a bully. And of course the bully cries victim, Of course. That's what they do. That's what they do. Of course bully cries victim. That's what they do. But it happens all the time. And every single time I've stood up for them saying, well, what were you expecting? You tormented this kid for ages. You tormented this guy for ages. What were you expecting? Right? If you did this to me in high school, I'd have given you a slap in the mouth straight away. So you've done well getting all this out of it without, getting a slap until now. Anyway, Boris, however, gave David a stern talking to that night as he walked him home, telling him that he is sorry he interfered and that such problems must be solved by oneself, or they are never truly overcome, and that the reason they pick on him is because he is obviously weak and a bit of a pushover. David was the son of a single mother, and never had a father figure in his life, and apparently this talk, being chastised for not doing anything wrong, but for just being weak, instantly awakened something in David. The years that followed were tough. David's mother lost her job during COVID, and they were facing eviction, so Boris pulled some strings and got David an essential job working night shifts in a warehouse when he hit 16. He also got him into working out and paid for his gym membership, regularly bringing him days' worth of his wife's home-cooked meals to help meet his calorie and protein intake. Boris himself was busy during this time completely renovating his own business, as it was hit pretty hard by the pandemic. He became a father again to twins in the meantime, and has once more started to play 40k with us at the start of 10th edition. I hope this heartwarming story finds you in a good mood. It's certainly still a classic in our circles, and a reminder of how a little kindness can go a long way. That was a terrific hobby nightmare there, Bojan. That was brilliant. Thank you, mate. And yes, that was probably the best instance of a hobby Chad that we've had for quite some time. You know what I mean? What we're here to do, a lot of people who watch this channel, they seem to think I don't like nerds. And the reason why they think that, and I've seen this on other people's channels too, like comments and things, oh, Northern Exile, yeah, he doesn't seem to like his own audience. No, mate, you misunderstand me, right? You misunderstand me. I'm doing you a disservice by telling you you're perfect and you're fine just the way you are, right? Let me take a sip of tea, one sec. Alright, I am doing you a complete disservice if I say to you, dude, carry on doing your hobby, carry on ignoring women, carry on ignoring your problems, it'll all be fine, you're perfect just the way you are. That is wrong. That is wrong. Complete bullshit. Right? Sometimes you need that talking to. Sometimes you need that arm around the shoulder to say, mate, this isn't done properly. Pull up your bootstraps. Go on. Get in that gym. Go and sort your life out, right? And I am behind you every step of the way. What Boris did here is that not only did he give him that talk, but he did what I can't. Because I'm not there with you. I would if I was, but I'm not. Boris put his money where his mouth is. He said, I'll pay for your gym membership. I'll get you a job. And if you meet me halfway, you will change your life for the infinitely better. If you meet me halfway. And the kid did, and look where he is now. Right? That's what a hobby Chad is. As normal blokes in this hobby, it's our duty, literally our duty, to go and find the neckbeards, to go and find the lads who are being abused and neglected and left behind and bullied, right? And to instill some fucking steel in their spines. That's what we're here to do. As the normies who do this hobby. We don't leave them behind. We don't chastise them. We don't hate them. We recognise what they are. We recognise what their problems are. And we go and we pick them up out the fucking gutter and we send them on their way. That's what we do. Okay? That is what we're here for. That is what we're here to do. So if you are a normie, if you're an average guy, just an average dude out there in the hobby, and you have this insane fear of neckbeards or you don't like being around them, just remember they were all David once, and they probably still are. You know, young David. They need the arm around the shoulder. They need a focal point, someone to look at as an example and go, ah, that's a role model, that's someone that I need. The reason why lads who are from single mother households, right, struggle so much is because they don't have that. They don't have that role model. Okay, they don't have that male person to say, listen mate, these are the fucking standards, right? You meet these standards or you're failing. These are the standards. I'm going to hold you to these standards. I don't mean grades, I mean in life. You need to be a good man. These are the standards. You need to be a good man. I'm on your side completely. But I will always tell you harsh truths if they need to be said. That's the same goes for this channel. Because there's a load of you out there who don't have that. And if you think I don't like you because I'm giving you advice and I'm giving it to you as if I'm standing in a bar and I'm giving it to you with no frills, with no bullshit. If you think I don't like you because of that, you need to get your head checked. Alright? If I didn't care, I'd just read these hobby nightmares out, laugh at you all, and move on with my day. There'd be no advice in these nightmares at all. Alright? So next time, if you ever see one of those comments out there saying that I don't like the community, I'm the only one trying to fucking help you, honestly. Everyone else is blowing smoke up your ass, telling you that you're perfect and you're great the way you are, and then it's women's fault. Yeah, I get this all the time, saying I'm some sort of simp because I tell guys, listen, if women don't like you, that's your fault. That's your fault. All right, that's you. Look in the mirror. If they don't like you, that's your fault. Look in the mirror. You could be going to the gym. You could be going to and meeting new friends. You could be making sure they're eating and drinking properly. You can make sure that you're going out and you're opening reps, you're opening groups, you're making sure you're speaking to people all the time. You could go and get yourself a mentor. You can go to your local hobby store, find the nicest, best dude there, and ask him, what did you do to get like that? And if you go in there dressed as a fucking neckbeard, he'll know exactly what you're talking about. The arm will be around your shoulder before you can say lickety split, mate. It'll be around your shoulder and they'll be like, right, here's what you do. Men want to mentor. That's what we want to do. Alright? But there comes a time when you have to realise how empowering it is to a man when I tell you all your problems are, number one, your fault, and number two, solvable by you. When I say all your problems, I don't mean illnesses or anything like that, right? Engage your brains, lads, right? Engage your fucking brains. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Right? Your problems, if you have problems with women, if you have problems with finding friends, if you have problems with your weight, if you have problems with, and they're not medically based, mental health or otherwise, that's on you. But also, so is getting better. That's the light at the end of the tunnel. So is getting better. That's on you too. Alright? That's so liberating. That's on you as well. All your problems are yours. Literally. But so are the solutions. Alright? Cool. I hope that set a few people straight. Because I've seen that coming up a few times. It really fucking irks me. Because the amount of people who will lie to you and tell you you're perfect. Because they want to subdue you, mate. They want you nice and docile. They want you to sit there and be a good little boy, eating your carbohydrates and wanking off into a tissue every night, right? That's what they want. They don't want you going out there and chasing shit. They don't want you channeling your frustrated sexual energy into success in business and in life. They don't want you meeting other women because it means more women for them, right? It means less competition for them. Most guys out there, want to build you up. But you're told by society, and you're told by weird people on YouTube, even in the Warhammer sphere, that you're perfect the way you are. No, you're not. You're not. You will never be perfect. Alright? You will never be perfect. But I tell you what, you go out there, you find yourself a mentor, or you carry on watching these videos, and you put into practice something that you want to do, gym, eating well, making sure that you're speaking to people all the time about your problems, making sure that you've got friends, like-minded individuals around you who can help you out. You do those things, right? And you'll feel like you're on the tippity top of the fucking mountain. And here's the kicker. Only then will you realise you're only halfway up. Alright? Alright. I'll speak to you on Monday. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye now.